Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in this lesson. Today we will learn about enums and we'll focus on this topic by creating a simple unit conversion program using enums all the way, no structs. Enums are much simpler than structs. They're less verbose and more concise. We'll dive right in. I'll create a quick project here. Call it enums. Browse to it. Open main.rs and I'm gonna create our first enum. Before I do that, let's say we wanted to have a conversion program that converts different units from one value to another. Think about metrics to imperial units like liters to gallon, kilometers to miles. So let's try and do that by enums. Again, to create an enum, use the enum keyword. Before I give it a name, I usually write the variance first, then I look at the variance and decide what name to give it. And then you follow that with a series of variants. So these are essentially called variants. This one is kilometers to miles, miles to kilometers, liter to gallon, and finally gallon to liter. Okay, now let's give our enum an interesting name. I'm just gonna call it conversion, or maybe unit conversion, better still. I love using enums because they're very simple to use, and the way to do that is to define a variable. Let's call this one unit, and then you invoke the namespace, in this case unit conversion, and that's how you use it in your program. The other advantage of enums over structs is that each variant that you see here inside the enum itself, so from line 2 to 5, can hold values. Let's create a variant that holds a value. I'm gonna call this one value to be converted. I'm gonna give an F32 here, so float. We'll leave that in there. First question you might have here, how do I access this value of this variant? Well, there are a few ways. Let's do the first way that you're most familiar with and we've seen in the past, using the match expression. In this case, I've just created a unit here, but let's just change it to a value to be converted. So the unit will be of enum type unit conversion with the variant of value to be created of an F32. Let's give that maybe 1.0 here. Again, maybe later on in the program, you'll come to a match expression, open the curly braces there, and you match on this, like so. Well, you converted. And then possibly you will return the value as such. Now, match is exhaustive. There is a shorthand here, which is the underscore, that essentially matches everything else. You can just say panic, and you can do this. Okay, so let's give this one a variable like this. Okay, and then we'll print the variable real quick. Let's run this. Okay, as you can see, we managed to get the value out of this variant by using a match expression. Let's explore functions for enums. Enums, just like structs, can also hold functions. Let's create a function here that maybe gives me the default values for the different units that I have. So kilometer to miles, miles to kilometers, and all the other units that we have listed here. So to do that, just like you've seen before, use the implement keyword and you put the variant name such, open the curly braces, and then let's maybe create a function here that's called get unit value. Of course, like before, you would need to open the parentheses and add self. And then let's add maybe another variable here called from unit. It would be the value of the unit conversion that we want. From here we'll do an exhaustive match. We'll start with kilometer to miles. So if I'm not mistaken, that's usually 6.2. Next one we'll do miles to kilometers, and that is 1.60. What else shall we do? Let's think here. What are the most popular ones? I think gallons and liters, right? That confuses a lot of people, so let's do that. Let's do liters here to gallons. I think is, yeah. And the final one, let's do the reverse again. Gallon to liters, let's do that. And then this one. Okay. So remember, this is exhaustive, so you use the underscore here. And we panic if anything goes wrong or does not match any of these values. Okay. Of course, we need an exclamation mark here. All right, so this function will return the values of the conversion. So if I want to convert kilometers to miles, it will tell me, hey, 1 kilometer is actually equals to 0.62 miles. Let's see what else do we need to add here. Of course, we need to add the return value for this function, which is an F32. And let's give that a try. So let's put everything in one place here. And I'm gonna call the unit variable, the one I created line 24, and get the function of the enum. And let's maybe get kilometers to, or maybe miles to kilometers. If you're a runner, you know exactly why I'm using miles to kilometers. There you go. So you got 1 for the VV variable here and 1.6. Let's quickly summarize what we've done here. We've created an enum called unit conversion. We've created some variants inside of the enum, and then we created the final variant that actually holds a value, and that value is what we want to convert from this unit conversion program. Then at line 9, we started implementing some functions, some helper functions that will facilitate the building of this program. Now let's see what else we can do here. So in order for you to have a conversion program, you need to have a way to enter the data, and then you need to determine which units you want to convert. So we've got our data, and we can grab that from a variant value to be converted from line 6. But now we need to understand how we are going to do the actual conversion. So let's create another function here. Let's call the function simply to. Again, we're doing all of this in the context of the variant itself. Okay, we'll do self, and we'll have a variable here called toUnit. And in this variable, it will take enum type that we've defined earlier. And we'll just call that unit conversion, and maybe the return value is also F32 because this is where I'm actually doing the conversion itself. You've seen the match expression. Now let's explore something else. Let's explore the IfLet. Match expressions, as I mentioned before, they are very exhaustive and very verbose. But if you want something real quick and you're interested in a very small subsets of conditions, i.e. you don't want to do an exhaustive if-else, You can use something called IfLet, and again, you've seen this in the past, so I'm just going to go ahead here and create the variable all I'm doing here, I'm trying to get unit conversion enum with the value that the user wants to convert, and it's as such. Comparison there is against self. If it equals true, we'll just return the actual value that the user wants to convert. We'll just panic and exit the program. Again, this is very simple program. Of course, you wouldn't do that in a real production program. I wouldn't recommend it. Let's quickly summarize what we've done here. All we did is grab the value that the user wants to convert first before we do the conversion. Now, the conversion we do need to do an exhaustive match. It is important because we want to know exactly what the user wants to convert. So in here, I'll come in there. So if the user wants kilometers to miles, let's get self, and if you recall, we'll use our helper function here to unit times value to be converted, the one we grabbed at line 21, and then I'll quickly do the same for the others. So this bit here is boring, but it's equally important. To unit, value to be converted. Okay, so now that you've seen two, I'm gonna start copying and pasting here and change things real quickly. So what else we're missing? So liters to gallon, gallon to liters, and then of course the final one would be by default. If it is none of these, then please panic and exit the program. Of course, we'll optimize on this shortly, but for now, let's just run the program as is, see if it works. At line 40, I want to convert value 1 to miles to kilometers. So let me just delete this. I mean, line 41 to 44 was just an example to show you how you can extract that value. No longer need that. Same with this placeholder. Let's remove this variable. We'll also delete this because we don't really need that. That was just for illustrative purposes, and we can just use the 2 straight away. And I want to use the 2 kilometers. Let's remove that. Okay, let's run the program. And there you go. 1 mile equals to 1.6 kilometers. Now let's do the reverse. Brilliant. Let's summarize again what we've done so far. Created an enum at line 1, created 2 functions at line 10 for that enum. One called getUnitValue, it's more or less a helper function. And then at line 20, I created a function that actually does the conversion. It uses self, and self refers to whatever you declared as a unit conversion enum. And then going to the main program, as I said earlier, self would refer to the value to be converted. If you're trying to call 2 against a variant that doesn't equal line 21, then you'll get a panic. Okay, so your program will completely crash. And then at line 27, I'm doing the actual conversion using the 2 unit variable that's in the 2 function. This is it for this lesson. In the next one, we'll look at options and other useful enums that come as default.